Well, what's going on? It's Mark Graham, aka the Mid-Axe Preacher. In this video, we are going to be dealing with, does Easter belong in the King James Bible? My answer, of course, is yes. Now, all you have to do is go to like Bible Gateway. You can open up multiple translations at a time, and you will see that I want to say every other translation, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that every translation outside of the KJV uses the word Easter. If I'm wrong on that, my bad. Okay, maybe there is another version, but I'm almost certain that the King James Version is the only version that has the word Easter in Acts chapter 4. The other translations use the word Passover there because they believe that Passover is the correct translation for that word. So I'm going to show you in scripture right now why this in fact should not be Passover and cannot be Passover. Now, let me at the start, okay? Let me just share my frustration, my pet peeve, if you will. My frustration and my pet peeve is more so like the irony of this situation, right? Think about it like this. You have all of these pastors, all of these churches that are against the KJV for one way or another, whether in consciously or unconsciously. And then you have some who are vehemently against the KJV. And they all use translations that have the word Passover in place of the word Easter. Okay, now I'm getting the irony out early. Let's just get it out there early. And yet, every year, these same pastors, if you will, have an Easter service. I mean, really think about the irony of what I just said. Think about that. Imagine believing that Easter is not the correct word. Imagine really believing that Easter should be translated as Passover. And yet every year you have an Easter service. That's just like crazy to me. You believe that the word Easter is translated wrong, like it shouldn't even be in the Bible, but you still have an Easter service. Crazy. Another conversation for another day. Anyway, this video isn't going to be long. Let's go ahead and just clearly demonstrate this. We're going to go to Leviticus 23. This video isn't going to be long. We're just going to go to Leviticus 23. I'm already there. And we're going to go to verse number 5 and 6. Now, this is what I want you to pay attention to, okay, as we read these verses. And then we're going to go back to Acts. Matter of fact, let's read Acts chapter 12 first. Now, about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded forth to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. So notice this verse, it says, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded forth to take Peter also. Watch this. Then were the days of unleavened bread. So he took Peter. After he took Peter, then we have the days of unleavened bread. Okay. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. So here's what we have. He takes Peter. After he takes Peter, then we have the days of unleavened bread. And he's intending to kill Peter after Easter. Okay? Okay, I hope y'all following me. Now, let's go ahead and jump into Leviticus. And we're going to go to Leviticus 23, 5 and 6. Now, look at what it says here. It says, in the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread. Unto the Lord 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. Okay, so on the 14th day of the month is the Lord's Passover. Okay, on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Are you following me? So now, really think about this. You have Passover on the 14th day. On the 15th day, then you have Feast of Unleavened Bread. 7 days must you eat unleavened bread, if you will. So what do we learn from these passages? What we learn from these passages is that Passover starts on the 14th day, and it's specifically mentioned as Passover. Now, you have places in Ezekiel, you have places in Exodus where you will see these days lumped together, right? Where you will see this as a general 7-day period. What's important about Leviticus and what's important about Numbers 28 is that it adds specificity, meaning that it adds detail to these events and it itemizes them. Okay. Remember, we're always rightly dividing the word of truth. So these passages cannot be eradicated by what you may read in Ezekiel or what you may read in Exodus or anywhere else pertaining to these days. All right. It's not going to magically make the 14th day being itemized as Passover disappear. It's not going to do that. So what we see in this verse is Passover is the 14th day. Okay. And the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, 7 days. Now, why is this important? Well, let's go back to the book of Acts. If in the book of Acts, if we read in Acts chapter 12, not Acts chapter 1, but in Acts chapter 12, look at what it says here. It says, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded forth to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Okay, so if he took Peter, right? And then it says, then were the days of unleavened bread. Well, the days of unleavened bread start on the 15th. So if he takes Peter and then we have the days of unleavened bread, you know what that means? That means that Passover has already occurred. So you cannot have in verse number 4 here, Passover being Easter, if we've already had the days of unleavened bread. Does that make sense to you? I hope that makes sense to you. Hey, listen, everything you do on YouTube doesn't have to be long. It's a quick video. Listen, it's the Mid-Acts Preacher. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Don't let anybody discourage you from reading your King James Bible. Understand that it has no errors and has no flaws. So now let me say this to you in closing. Modern translations have made a critical error by including, or rather putting, Passover after the days of unleavened bread. I want you to really think about this. Now, we just talked about how Passover is the 14th day, and then on the 15th day is the days of unleavened bread. Got it. Well, in modern translations, again, they put Passover after the days of unleavened bread. Huge error. I hope you see that. Hope you understand that. Listen, this video was not intended to discuss the paganistic aspects of Easter. Nevertheless, think about it like this. Why in this verse would Herod, the king, want to kill Peter like he killed James after Easter? The simple answer is that Easter was a day that they celebrated and or worshiped. Remember, he took Peter during the days of unleavened bread, intending to kill him after Easter. Now, if Easter is not Passover, in which case it's not, and if Easter has nothing to do with the days of unleavened bread, in which case it does not, then Easter clearly represents something significant to Herod as opposed to something that would be significant to the Jews. I mean, think about it. What does it matter to Herod to kill Peter or James or any of these people on any of these days? What does it matter to them when they kill these people? Right? Think about when they killed Jesus. They don't care. So the reality is that this is a day that was significant to Herod and or to the people in Rome as opposed to the nation of Israel. Listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. God bless.